Reborn on our 15th anniversary. My husband said, divorce. And I surprised him by agreeing. Let's divorce. Xin will stay with me. You have no income and no house. Leaving with nothing is the most dignified way for everyone. Lu Xiuqi pushed a prepared agreement in front of me. It was exactly 8 o'clock. The bouquet of red roses on the dining table was in full bloom, the gift he had handed me half an hour ago for our 15th wedding anniversary. I looked at the cold typeface on the agreement. My fingertips tingled slightly, not from sadness, but from the surreal feeling of being back on familiar ground. In my past life, I had sat in this same spot, crying hysterically, begging him to give our family another chance for our daughter's sake. Now, I just picked up the glass of warm water in front of me and took a sip. The dryness in my throat faded. Fine. My voice was clear and cold, without a single tremor. Lu Xiuqi froze. He had prepared a whole arsenal of words to deal with me throwing a tantrum, crying, begging, but now they all stuck in his throat. His face turned beet red. Xinruowei, did you hear me clearly? Xin belongs to me. Not only will you not get a single cent, but you won't even have the right to live in this school district house. He leaned forward, a smug, condescending expression on his face, trying to detect even a shred of collapse in me. I heard you. I'll sign. I pulled out a pen, and with a scratching sound, I signed my name neatly. Mom, have you lost your mind? A scream came from the staircase. 15-year-old Lu Xin, dressed head to toe in expensive designer brands, was looking at me with disgust. She held the latest model phone in her hand. There was no reluctance to part with her mother in her eyes, only cold indifference. If you're leaving, just leave. Stop putting on an act. It's not like you do anything besides laundry and cooking anyway. And you're always nagging me about the spending money Dad gives me, so annoying. If you really dare to leave, don't come crawling back to see me. Her words were like a rusty nail. But I couldn't feel the pain anymore. In my past life, I had given up my job in investment banking for this family. I had carefully studied recipes, humbly tried to please my in-laws, and spoiled Lu Xin until she became a princess who wouldn't lift a finger. And what did I get? When I was seriously ill and bedridden, Lu Xiuqi brought his first love into the house without a shred of shame. Lu Xin had linked arms with that woman and said with a smile, Aunt Jo is so much better. Mom is just an old hag. What bad luck. Xin. Lu Xiuqi turned to look at his daughter, then back at me. A flicker of calculation crossed his eyes. Your mother probably thinks you're a burden. She wants to go live the good life as a single woman. Ruowei, aren't you even going to fight for custody? You used to love her the most. He was trying to provoke me through Xin. He knew I had no job. As long as I opened my mouth to fight for custody, he could squeeze me even harder on the property division, maybe even leave me with a pile of debt. I stood up. Without looking at the greed-filled agreement, I turned and walked toward the bedroom. No need to fight, I answered calmly as I walked. She thinks I'm annoying anyway. It's better for her to stay with you, the father who can give her plenty of spending money. Lu Xiuqi shot to his feet. The chair scraped against the floor with a screech. Xinruowei, what kind of attitude is that? Playing hard to get. Let me tell you, once you walk out that door, I'm going straight to the Civil Affairs Bureau to file. Don't you dare regret it. I ignored his impotent rage. I walked into the bedroom and took out the black suitcase that had been gathering dust on the top shelf of the closet. I didn't have many things. Every piece of clothing I'd bought over the years had to fit Lu Xiuqi's taste. Every pair of shoes had to be convenient for taking care of Xin. Now, I didn't want any of it. I only took my identification documents and the few bank cards hidden in old books. Cards that Lu Xiuqi had completely forgotten about. They held the principal I had quietly accumulated through short-term stock market trades in my spare time over the years. When I walked out with the suitcase, Lu Xiuqi was sitting on the sofa smoking. The ember glowed in the dim living room. Ruowei, stop this. His tone had softened, carrying his usual habit of control. Put the suitcase down. Apologize to Xin. Tell her you were just talking nonsense. I know you have nowhere to go. Your parents' house has been rented out for years. You don't even have 1,000 yuan on you. Do you? Leave me. And you can't even afford a decent meal. Lu Xin chimed in, her voice cutting. Yeah, leave. Go ahead. Let's see if you're begging under a bridge tomorrow. I walked to the entrance and put on the red high-heeled shoes I had bought 3 years ago but never had a chance to wear. Lu Xiuqi. See you at the Civil Affairs Bureau tomorrow at 9. Whoever doesn't show is the loser. I pushed open the door. The humid, fresh air rushed in. Shinruoe, are you really giving up on Xin? Lu Xiuqi's voice came from behind me, carrying a panic he himself hadn't noticed. I didn't look back. My footsteps echoed firmly on the hallway tiles. Yes, I'm done. In the elevator, I saw myself in the mirror. There were fine lines around my eyes, but the light in them was brighter than ever. After leaving the gate of our compound, I dialed a number I hadn't called in years. Hello, old Lin. This is Shinruoe. There was silence on the other end for a full 5 seconds. Then an excited shout came through. Xinjia, you've finally decided to move. I thought you were really going to rot in that broken family. Arrange a meeting with President Zhang of Hongsheng Capital. Tell him Shinruoe is ready to discuss that merger case with him, the one that's 5 years late. Over coffee, I hailed a taxi. I didn't look back at the brightly lit Fu's apartment building behind me. Lu Xiuqi thought I was losing a home. In reality, I was throwing away a soul-sucking black hole. He thought I had nothing. He didn't know that my mind held the financial trends of the next 5 years. As for the daughter he had spoiled rotten, let the two of them torment each other in their so-called wealthy life until they turned gray. Walking out of the Civil Affairs Bureau with my suitcase, the morning sun at 10 o'clock was a bit blinding. In my hand was the dark red divorce certificate. The cover felt slightly cool to the touch. Lu Xiuqi followed behind me, his face dark enough to drip water. He had thought last night was just me throwing a tantrum. He had even been sure that I would kneel and beg this morning, terrified of having no future. But when the stamp came down, I hadn't even furrowed my brow. Shinruoe, you're something else, he bit out, stuffing his divorce certificate into the inner pocket of his suit. Don't say I didn't warn you. Xin is rebellious right now. Without my financial support and connections, she won't be able to afford her study abroad tuition or her social life. Don't come asking me for money under the pretense of seeing your daughter. I stopped and looked at him. The face I once thought was refined and steady now only showed the petty shrewdness of a small-minded man. Don't worry, President Liu. Since I left with nothing, I have no intention of going back into that quagmire. I smiled, my tone as detached as if I were discussing a trivial business deal. As for Xin, she's your responsibility now. By the way, there are labels in the refrigerator. Which ingredients expire when, and which ones she's allergic to, it's all written clearly. I hope your housekeeper has as much patience as I did. Lu Xiuqi snorted, about to mock me, when a black Panamera pulled smoothly to the curb. The door opened, and a man in an expensive, well-tailored suit stepped out. He respectfully took my suitcase. Miss Shin, President Zhang has cancelled his morning meeting. He's waiting for you at Hongsheng. Old Lin's appearance was like a silent slap to Lu Xiuqi's face. His expression froze instantly. Old Lin, everyone recognized him. He was once a well-known headhunter in investment banking, later pushed to the margins because he was too stubborn. Lu Xiuqi had always seen him as a washed-up loser. But now, Old Lin treated me like he was welcoming back a long-lost queen. You're Lin Jianpain. Lu Xiuqi looked at us suspiciously. Shinruoe, this is your big plan. Having a failed headhunter pick you up. I ignored him and got into the back seat. The car window rolled up, sealing off Lu Xiuqi's shocked and angry face. As the car drove smoothly toward the CBD, Old Lin turned around from the passenger seat, his eyes full of curiosity. Xinjia, you really did it. You divorced him. Over the years, thanks to the projects you advised him on, he's been doing quite well in the circle. Are you really going to let him off that easily? I looked out the window at the receding street scenery. That was built on someone holding down the fort for him, patching up his holes. Now that foundation is gone, the higher he climbs, the harder he'll fall. Half an hour later, in the top-floor office of Hongsheng Capital, Zhang Hongsheng, the old fox known for his ruthlessness in finance, was squinting as he flipped through the merger proposal I had brought. The office was silent except for the rustle of paper. Miss Shin, how did you think to lay out the new energy upstream supply chain so early? Zhang Hongsheng put down the document, his eyes sharp. If you'd never left the industry, I wouldn't be surprised. But from what I know, you've been a housewife for 5 years. President Zhang, I've had plenty of time. Enough to reanalyze industry data from the past decade 3 times over, I said calmly, crossing my legs. The core logic behind all the contracts Lu's trading has taken on over the years is actually in this proposal. Lu Xiuqi thinks it was his strategic brilliance. In reality, I just did some simulated trading for him in my spare time. Now I've brought the enhanced version. Interested? Zhang Hongsheng was silent for a moment, then burst into hearty laughter. He stood up and reached out his hand. Shinruowei, everyone in the circle said you were the supportive wife who gave up her career for love. Looks like we were all wrong. You're not a supportive wife. You're the brain Lu Xiuqi hid away, and that brain wants to live for herself now. I shook his hand, with just the right amount of firmness. That afternoon, I started at Hongsheng. My title, senior partner. Meanwhile, inside Lu Xiuqi's villa, chaos reigned. He had barely stepped through the door when a sharp smell of burning hit his nose. Lu Xinxin was sitting on the sofa in her pajamas. The floor was littered with takeout boxes and milk teacups. Dad, I'm starving. Tell her to make me sea urchin steamed egg. I've called her a bunch of times. Lu Xiuqi, already a mess, ripped off his tie and yelled, "There's no her anymore. Your mother and I are divorced. Ask Wang Ma to make it for you. The new Wang Ma's cooking, even pigs wouldn't eat it." Xin threw her phone down, instantly losing her temper. She doesn't even know what batch of fish I like. And she ruined my silk dress, that cost 100,000 yuan. Dad, go get Mom back. Tell her to stop this nonsense. Lu Xiuqi looked at the mess on the floor. He thought about the elegant, composed way Shinruowei had gotten into that luxury car at the Civil Affairs Bureau. An uneasy feeling rose in his chest. He had always thought the mundane order of their home was as natural as the air. Now, the air seemed to have been sucked out. He called me. His voice still carried a commanding tone. Shinruowei, Xin ruined that 100,000 yuan dress. You need to come back and explain the household routines to the new housekeeper. Don't make me come get you myself. I'm giving you an out. Take it. I was sitting in a skyscraper office at that moment, looking out at the city lights, hearing his entitled tone. I just wanted to laugh. Mr. Lu, that's your family matter. What does it have to do with me, a homeless woman with no income? I blocked his number immediately. In this circle, information disparity is money. Lu Xiuqi still didn't know that several of his major clients, because of one phone call I made that afternoon, had started re-evaluating the stability of Lu's trading. He thought the divorce was his liberation. Actually, it was the first second of his bankruptcy countdown. 3 weeks into my tenure at Hongsheng, my first industry salon was held at the Cloud Club. In the past, Lu Xiuqi hadn't been qualified to attend events like this, but as the legal representative of Lu's trading, he had pulled every string he could to get an invitation. Desperate to maintain the illusion of market confidence, I wore a minimalist, dark gray, high-end tailored suit. My long hair was neatly tied up. I stood in the center of the venue, talking with several bank executives. My face was new to the industry since I had been behind the scenes for years, but my words cut like a scalpel, right into the pain points of the current foreign trade transformation. President Shen. This is President Lu of Lu's Trading. He's hoping to discuss next quarter's credit line with Hongsheng. Old Lin, a mischievous smile on his face, deliberately led Lu Xiuqi over to me. Lu Xiuqi was holding a glass of red wine, wearing his standard social smile. The moment he recognized me, the smile froze stiff on his face. "Ruowei," he blurted out, his voice sharp with shock. "What are you doing here? Why are you dressed like that?" I politely nodded to the bank executive beside me, signaling that we would talk later. Then I turned to face Lu Xiuqi, my expression perfectly composed. "President Lu, this is a business setting. Please address me by my title." "Title? What title?" He lowered his voice, full of twisted pride. "Are you working as a waiter here, or running errands for old Lin? Don't think wearing expensive clothes makes you important. Come home with me." Xin smashed an antique vase yesterday just to get me to buy her a limited edition bag. I'm so irritated. You go talk some sense into her. That was Lu Xiuqi. Even in a setting like this, deep down he still saw me as his accessory, the fire extinguisher he used to clean up his messes. Senior partner of Hongsheng Capital, Shinruowei. I handed him a business card, my fingers sliding elegantly through the air. Lu Xiuqi stared at the gold-stamped card. His hand trembled. and red wine spilled onto his cuff. Impossible. How could Hongsheng make someone who hasn't worked in 5 years a partner? Has Zhang Hongsheng lost his mind? President Liu. Instead of questioning President Zhang's decisions, you should worry about your own cash flow. I stepped closer, lowering my voice so only we could hear. You've been looking into that Southeast Asian palm oil project, haven't you? Planning to sink all of Lu's remaining liquidity into it. Lu Xiuqi's pupils contracted sharply. How do you know that? Because the core data flaw in that project came from a draft I accidentally left in your study notebook 6 months ago. I smiled, my eyes cold as ice. You thought it was a gold mine. Actually, it's the death warrant for your bankruptcy. It's a shame, you're so arrogant you didn't even bother to cross-check. Lu Xiuqi's face went pale. He remembered signing a performance betting agreement for that project, even using short-term bank borrowing to fund it. Shinruowei, you set me up, he hissed, but he couldn't hide how shaky he felt. President Liu, don't joke. In business, you win some, you lose some. I stepped back, my polite smile back in place. Since we're divorced, we're competitors now. I hope Lu's trading can survive the quarter. Otherwise, I'm afraid you won't even be able to afford Xinxin's tuition. Just then, Lu Xiuqi's phone vibrated violently. He glanced at the screen, his face full of panic, and answered. President Liu, something's happened in Southeast Asia. The raw material price fluctuation has exceeded our risk control line. The bank is demanding immediate margin coverage, or they'll freeze our accounts. Lu Xiuqi's legs went weak. He grabbed the table beside him for support. His gaze shot to me. The anger in his eyes turned into desperation. Ruowei, you must have a solution. Right. You were always the best at handling emergencies like this. You're just saying this to make me angry, aren't you? The divorce can be undone. Just help me cover this loss. We're done. President Liu. I cut him off, not even sparing him another glance, and turned to walk toward Zhang Hongsheng, who was waving me over. That evening, I moved into a large, flat apartment in the city center. Outside the window, the city glittered with lights. Inside, it was quiet. My phone rang. This time, it was Lu Xinxin. Mom, where did you die? Dad came home crazy and smashed my computer. All I did was use 200,000 yuan of his money to buy a bag. Why did he hit me? Come back and take me to buy a new one. And tell him to apologize to me. Her cries were piercing. In the past, I would have felt terrible and rushed over to comfort her. Now, it just sounded like noise. Xinxin, that's your father's money. How he spends it is his right, I said, speaking the coldest words I had ever said to my daughter. Don't call me about things like this anymore. Since you think I'm so annoying, you can live with your generous father. Shinruowei, how dare you talk to me like that? Don't you want me as a daughter anymore? I'm never calling you mom again. Fine. I hung up and turned my phone off. The first major battle after my rebirth, I had won it completely. Lu Xiuqi thought he had thrown away a rag, but he had thrown away the only life raft he ever had. In the days that followed, Lu's trading collapsed faster than I had imagined. Without my precise financial management and risk aversion, Lu Xiuqi's mediocre business skills were like a beginner trying to survive in an expert-level financial market. He started borrowing money everywhere, even trying to use my family's old connections. But he didn't know that, as a partner at Hongsheng, I had already visited those elders. The person they saw was a calm, sharp, investable Shinruowei, not the weak, mumbling, Mrs. Liu. One Monday morning, as soon as I stepped into the office, I saw Lu Xiuqi sitting in the Hongsheng reception area, looking like death. His usually impeccably ironed Italian suit was wrinkled like dried orange peel. Dark circles ringed his bloodshot eyes. President Shen. Mr. Liu has been sitting there for 3 hours. He insists on seeing you. Old Lin walked by with his coffee, his eyes full of amusement. I pushed open my office door. Let him in. Lu Xiuqi practically stumbled into the office. He shut the door behind him, his voice hoarse. Ruowei, that palm oil project, you deliberately led me into it, didn't you? You knew it was a minefield of foreign exchange fluctuation. Why didn't you stop me? I sat in my executive chair and looked at him calmly. President Liu, you handed me the divorce papers yourself. You said I had no income, no house, How could a jobless housewife have the right to guide the great President Liu's investment decisions? Besides, I left those numbers on scrap paper in my study. You copied them yourself and gambled everything on them like they were a treasure. Liu Xiuqi's words stuck in his throat. The truth was, yes, he had found that draft when I was cooking. He thought he had discovered a secret money-making path of mine and couldn't wait to cut me out and make a fortune for himself. I was wrong. Ruowei. I was really wrong. He suddenly walked around the desk, about to kneel. The banks have frozen Liu's accounts. Suppliers are blocking our office every day. And there's Xin. She's been showing off at school and got herself into debt, almost 200,000 yuan in student loans. The debt collectors are calling me non-stop. When he mentioned Liu Xin, my hand holding the pen paused, but only for a second. 200,000. Weren't you giving her tens of thousands every month? Before, when you were around, you bought her clothes and shoes, the best. She had no concept of money. Now that you're gone, she's desperate to keep up her Liu family princess image. She spends without thinking. She even started buying expensive drinks at nightclubs. Liu Xiuqi covered his face, his voice cracking. Ruowei, for our daughter's sake, please help me. Hongsheng has emergency funds, doesn't it? Just sign something. Be a guarantor. Even. Liu Xiuqi, have you forgotten? Xin belongs to you now. I cut him off, my voice cold and unforgiving. You said I couldn't even afford a decent meal without you. Now why are you begging a beggar? She's your own daughter. Can you really watch her be destroyed by loan sharks? He shouted, trying to use moral blackmail. She's old enough to be responsible for herself. Since she chose to enjoy luxury and vanity, she needs to learn to pay the price. Just like you chose greed and betrayal, now you need to face bankruptcy. I stood up and opened the blinds. The building where Liu's trading was headquartered was just 2 streets away. Down below, I could see the faint outlines of people holding banners. Show him out, I said, pressing the intercom. As Liu Xiuqi was escorted out by security, he kept screaming, cursing me for being cold-blooded, cursing me for being an unfit mother. But inside, I felt nothing but relief. In my past life, I sold the house my parents left me to cover his debts, and I ended up poor, sick, and abandoned. In this life, I was just giving that karma back. That evening, for the first time, I went to the international school where Liu Xin studied. She was huddled in a corner of the school gate, several seedy-looking young men surrounding her. Gone was her arrogant princess demeanor. Her makeup was ruined from crying, and she was sobbing, begging them for a few more days of grace. I rolled down my car window and watched coldly. Mom, save me. Xin spotted my car instantly, clinging to it like a lifeline. She ran over and pounded on the door. Make them leave. They said if I don't pay, they'll post pictures at my school. Mom, please. You have so much money. Just give me 200,000. I got out of the car. The young men, seeing my expensive car and confident demeanor, stepped back cautiously. I grabbed Xin's chin and made her meet my eyes. Didn't your father tell you? We're divorced. I don't care if you're divorced or not. You're still my mother. So you have to take care of me. She shrieked. It's just 200,000. You spend more than that on a bag. I have money, but it's mine. From my bag, I pulled out a copy of a private settlement agreement, the one I had paid for when she bullied a classmate at school last year. I used to shield you from every storm. I made you think the world revolved around you. Well, the storm is here now. Deal with it yourself. I turned to the debt collectors. I'm her biological mother, but legally, her father has custody. If you want your money back, go to Liu's trading. He hasn't declared bankruptcy yet. He still has several luxury cars. The men looked at each other. They understood immediately who the real cash cow was. Mom, don't leave me. Save me. Xin wailed, trying to grab my clothes. I shook her off and got back in the car. Liu Xin, don't call me Mom. When you signed that form giving up visitation rights in exchange for your father's spending money, we were done. The car drove away. In the rearview mirror, I saw Xin collapse onto the ground. I had given her the best education and the deepest love, but she chose the easy path, the one Liu Xiuqi offered. Since she made that choice, she had to walk it to the end. 3 months later, Hongsheng Capital's annual appreciation gala. I wore a minimalist black off-the-shoulder dress and an emerald necklace of exceptional quality. As a newly appointed partner at Hongsheng, I was surrounded by business elites seeking cooperation, and Lu Xiuqi, the man who had once navigated these social circles with ease, now cowered in the darkest corner of the banquet hall like a frightened bird. He wasn't supposed to be able to get in, but I had asked old Lin to send him an invitation. President Shen, Lu Xiuqi has been staring at you for an hour. His wine glass is about to shatter in his hand. Old Lin whispered into my ear. I swirled my champagne glass. Don't worry, he's about to break. Sure enough, after I bid farewell to the last person I was talking to and turned to walk to the terrace to get some air, Lu Xiuqi rushed out from the shadows. His expensive suit was not only wrinkled, his cuffs had stains that wouldn't wash out. Ruowei, please, save Xin. He grabbed me desperately, his eyes full of insane despair. She got arrested. She's been taken away by the police for helping those loan sharks launder money. She said she was forced into it. Ruowei, she's your own flesh and blood. I slowly peeled his hand off my arm. From my clutch, I took out a wet wipe and leisurely wiped the skin he had touched. Mr. Lu, Xin was arrested because you used her as bait. You dangled her in front of those so-called investors to fill the hole in Lu's trading. You know exactly what kind of people they are. You pushed her right into the fire to save yourself. And now you're begging me. Lu Xiuqi's face turned from pale to ashen. I didn't think, I thought they were just taking her to dinner. He stammered. You didn't think because you didn't care. I cut him off, my voice ice cold against his ear. You only care about Lu's trading. You only care about your image as President Lu. But Lu's trading is an empty shell now. The creditors you ruined will have the court seize your penthouse tomorrow. Your luxury cars will be auctioned. And as for Xin, if she committed a crime, she'll face the consequences. Lu Xiuqi suddenly fell to his knees in front of everyone. Ruowei, please, let's get remarried. I don't want anything. I'll give you whatever shares are left in Lu's trading. Just use Hongsheng's connections to get Xin out. I'll do whatever you ask. The guests at the gala turned to stare. Murmurs spread like waves. Isn't that President Shen's ex-husband? Look how far he's fallen. I heard he was reckless and lost everything in Southeast Asia. He forced President Shen to leave with nothing so he could be with his first love. Now that he knows she's the real deal, he's groveling. Lu Xiuqi's face burned. Remarried. I looked down at him, the corner of my mouth curling into a mocking arc. Lu Xiuqi, what exactly about you is worthy of me now? My net worth, or my peace of mind? Just then, the doors of the banquet hall opened. Several uniformed court bailiffs walked in, heading straight for Lu Xiuqi. Mr. Lu Xiuqi, regarding the debt disputes with multiple banks and suppliers, the court has ordered you to refrain from high consumption and has frozen all your assets. Please come with us. Lu Xiuqi collapsed to the floor, his eyes vacant. He looked at me, his lips trembling, trying to say something, but I had already turned away to greet Zhang Hongsheng, who had just walked in. Ruowei, let's talk about that cross-border merger case next quarter, he said, handing me a fresh glass of wine. Sure. I took his arm and walked away. As the bailiffs dragged Lu Xiuqi away, I heard his desperate wails. But inside, I felt a peace I had never known in my past life. He had always thought that as long as he had our daughter as leverage, as long as he showed a little weakness, the weak woman, would obediently come back. He never understood that when a woman's heart is truly dead, it is harder than any asset he could ever boast about. As for Lu Xin, I had anonymously provided the police with key evidence 2 weeks ago. Yes, she had been an accomplice, but because she was misguided by her father and under 16, she would spend some time in juvenile detention. There, no one would buy her luxury goods. No one would debone her fish for her. She would finally learn what it meant to be a real person. 3 months after Lu Xiuqi's complete bankruptcy, I got a call from the detention center. Lu Xin, before being transferred to juvenile detention, insisted on seeing me one last time. Old Lin advised me not to go. A child that's selfish, seeing her will just make your blood pressure rise. But I shook my head. Some karma needed to be settled in person to feel complete. Behind the thick bulletproof glass, Lu Xin had short hair and wore a baggy gray prison uniform. Her face, once covered in expensive makeup, looked sallow and gaunt. The arrogance in her eyes was gone. replaced by a chilling numbness. "Mom," she said, her voice cracked and hoarse. "Miss Lu, I'm no longer your legal guardian." I corrected her, my voice even. She gave a bitter laugh. Tears rolled down her cheeks. "Dad got sentenced to 7 years. Illegal fundraising and fraud. Before they took him away, he tried to push all the blame onto me. Said I spent so recklessly that he had no choice. That's what he calls spoiling me the most." I didn't say anything. Lu Xiuqi was exactly that kind of person. In good times, he showed off his daughter like a prized possession. In bad times, he used her as a human shield. "Do you hate me?" Xin stared at me, trying to find even a flicker of anger on my face. "Hate you?" I shook my head. "Hate is an expensive emotion. To me, you're just a stranger who chose the wrong path and is paying for it. If you think I'm cold, it's because you never realized that the care I gave you wasn't an obligation, it was my gift. Since you didn't appreciate it, I took it back." Lu Xin pressed her face against the glass and sobbed. "I was wrong. I was so wrong. They beat me, made me eat leftovers, made me scrub toilets on my knees. Mom, please, you have so much money. Hire lawyers. Save me. I'll be good in the future." I stood up and smoothed the wrinkles in my suit. "You chose your own path. When Lu Xiuqi asked you to sign that form giving up visitation rights, you signed it faster than anyone for the sports car he promised. Now go rehabilitate. That's the only way out you have left." Walking out of the detention center, the sky was a clear, bright blue. I drove to the former office building of Lu's Trading. Now, it bore a new sign: Shin's Enterprise Division, Hongsheng Capital. The company that Lu Xiuqi had spent his entire life building had been auctioned off by the court after its capital chain snapped. I was the sole buyer. Old Lin was waiting for me in the lobby, holding the final restructuring plan. "President Shen, when Lu Xiuqi heard in prison that you bought his company, he had a heart attack. They sent him to the hospital. I took the file from him and walked into the elevator. That company was the thing he valued most in the world. Now, it was just a small footnote on my professional map. That, for him, was worse than death." At 3 o'clock that afternoon, I appeared at the new product launch for Shin's industry. I had not only restored the Shin family's reputation but also firmly planted my feet in this industry. The media's flashbulbs popped incessantly. They chased after me, this financial miracle, but no one knew that just 6 months ago, I was a housewife meticulously budgeting over grocery prices. That evening, walking alone along the river, the breeze was cool. It blew away the last remaining memories of that family. My phone lit up. An email. Several underprivileged female college students I sponsored had sent me their report cards and thank you letters. Looking at their energetic words, I smiled, a real smile. For the first time in a long time, in my past life, I gave all my light to Lu Xiuqi and Lu Xin until I was nothing but a pile of ash. Now, I gave my light to those who deserved it, and in the process, I became a star. I walked into my newly purchased penthouse apartment and poured myself a glass of red wine. No Lu Xiuqi's complaints. No Lu Xinxin's screams. Just the sound of classical music. I looked at the reflection in the mirror. Shin Ruowei. "Cheers," I said. The Shin Ruowei who had been buried by marriage was dead. She died on the night of the 15th anniversary. Standing here now was Shin Ruowei, unbreakable, in control of her own destiny. Revenge was never the goal. Living better was. I put down my glass, turned off the light, and fell into a deep, dreamless sleep. Tomorrow, there were bigger markets to conquer. What are your thoughts after hearing this story? You are welcome to share your ideas in the comments section. I look forward to hearing from you.